Traditionally, in order to sort, we might use parameters in a closure. So we might have sorted numbers, which would be our numbers, and sorted, and we can say how we're sorting them. So we'd have our first number and our second number in, and we can just say we're going to return our first number before the second number, so that's in ascending order. Okay, of course, if we print our sorted numbers, they're in ascending order. That's fine, but we can make this slightly shorter by using shorthand parameter names. So we could have ascending names, similar type of thing. So we have names and we have them sorted. But instead of explicitly saying first name and second name, we can use $0 to represent the first and $1 to represent the second. These are also going to be in ascending order. And that is just as easy to read as that. In fact, some people would say it's shorter, so it's easier to read, so it's a nicer solution. Now, there are some cases where things can get a bit more complicated. So this is meant to represent some logged in and logged out users. Maybe you've got a chat application, you're getting the data from an API in a view model, and we have a completion handler here that gives us just some users, say the logged in users. So I've set up a view model, an instance of the view model here, and you might have a completion handler, and usually you'd have this into your view controller. And I can use shorthand types here. So there's one set of users here. Sorry, there's one users type which has an array of data which contains the first and second name here. So what I might want to do is print out those users. So $0 represents the users. And then we're going to have data which is an array. So then to print them all, we'd have to map that. So I'm going to use some string interpolation here, and $0.firstName will be the first name, $0.secondName will be the second name, and we can also print out their email. So in turn, this will print out the first name, second name, and email, and I've given it I haven't given it anything. So I need to set up my completion. And I'll use a force unwrapped here because I'm pretty certain I've done it. I'll just have my logged in users who are Dave and Letitia, and it should print out Dave and Letitia to the console. Okay, that's fine. But probably we can do a bit better, and probably I want these on separate lines. So I can use joined, and my separator can be new line. Now you can think about if this is a good idea using these shorthand arguments or not, because the point is you've got $0 here and $0 here, and they represent two different things. This represents the user data object, and this represents each person in turn. And yet, when you read along the line, they're both $0. So you can argue that's not a great way of doing things. But probably you'd say it's acceptable because this line is actually very short. So if we have the more complex one, so this returns our logged in and logged out users. Again, we're using string interpolation here. That'll be $1. We expect it to print out our logged in users and our logged out users to the console. Except, again, I haven't added them in. So view model.complex completion and it's printed Vishala is logged out and Letitia and Dave as logged in. And again, we've got $0 as part of the map and $0 as our user object. And here $1, it's the second user object. I'm not sure it's clear what's going on here. So this might be a case of not using shorthand arguments, because what does $0 mean? What does $1 mean? You'd have to go back and look at the view model to really understand what's going on. And in fact, this is a sort of question you need to always ask yourself. Is it making it easier or more difficult to read? And it's not just in those type of completion handler closures, it can be with dictionaries as well. So this might be, we have a dictionary and I want to store uppercase A of a string and count how many instances there are and also return the lowercase variant. It's a bit of a strange idea, but it's something you might do. Okay, so for this dictionary, we can use a closure, which is for each. And if we want to use shorthand, we can have $0, 0 and 1, because the key and the value can be represented by a 0 and a 1 as well. So this starts to get tricky about what these $0s and 1s actually mean. And there's a question on, does it make it clearer or easier to actually write, actually write down what each of these mean, rather than assuming that the user is going to go through with 0s and 1s like that. I've tried to, by trial and error, find out which one is the lowercase element. It's not a very good idea. It has to be really clear about what these shorthand arguments stand for. So this is something to think about. Are shorthand arguments the right use to solve a problem or to make your code easy to read?